Hello class, I apologize for the abrupt ending of the previous video. My iPad ran out of space. Thankfully I have just purchased a desktop and I will transition into a more stable and better quality for recordings for future. So hopefully by next week I can be recording from it. Meanwhile, please bear with me. This will be the second part. I will limit this video to 10 minutes to make a 15 minutes on the Upanishads. So let's go ahead and continue where we left off last time. So we spoke of how the Upanishads are coming to complement what was there lacking before. And so what you have is these sacrifices were not sufficient to satisfy the desire for meaning and for purpose and for understanding at the time. And so then you go into now the knowledge of Brahman, and that begins to open out the sound that you hear in meditation, that is so proverbial in its application, that is the and that sound permeates all of reality. So when you hear it, it just reverberates. When it is uttered in a well practiced manner, you can hear it coming from the innermost sense of a person and expressing this radiance to it. So that is the expression, the that people use in meditation, and that is, it's not just a nice sound, but it represents the pervasiveness of this ultimate reality, the oneness of it, how it encompasses all things. So if you can YouTube some examples of that, so you get a sense of how that looks. But that is a sound which expresses a concept. So don't get caught up on the just the sound itself. Just like when we get to the distinct kinds of yogas, I know yoga is a great way of gaining flexibility and lowering stress and so on. But the ultimate expression of it is going to come in its philosophical sense when it entails this all this one worldview. And then you have the third phase of this. Now this is knowledge of the self. Now this is the most certain thing that you can have according to Hinduism. It is the life within. My perceptions of the world may be mistaken. My eyes may fail to interpret reality as they should. My sensory experience may be altered by chemicals, by Taco Bell. You never know. I mean, just a countless number of things that can affect the way you feel. And those are sensory experience. But what I am thinking and what I perceive as a self, that is itself is most immediate to me. It's most true, most accordance with reality. And so that is what the Hindus are looking for, that which is beyond sensory experience. Because sensory experience, what that gives you is constant change of perceptions, so and sensations. So what you have is my hands feel stiff. I was working with my hands all day today, and now they feel stiff and wearisome. But that is a change in experience. So my hands never feel the same at any given time. The same thing with the temperature, the same thing with my images. There are hundreds and hundreds of images that are popping up into my mind as I look around and I'm interpreting reality. But all of that is in a constant flow. And so the question of the unity and diversity, or the one and the many, that is the philosophical statement in which it has been phrased in the past. For the Greeks, there were two people that typified those two things. On the one hand, you had what's called Parmenides. Parmenides was a thinker who believed that all of reality was the undifferentiated one, and that all change was simply appearance, was not real. And then you have Heraclitus on the other hand, which goes with the idea that there is no permanence whatsoever. Everything is a constant flux. And the expression of you cannot step on the same river twice, and Heraclitus would say you cannot even step on the same river once, because at every single nanosecond you are changing, and it is a constant flux. And so Hinduism is trying to find permanence. Where is the foundation, the source of all things that we perceive, in spite of the senses, in spite of growth of understanding, in spite of all of the things that we experience, is there something which is fixed, that will not be subject to change, and that is Brahman. So let's go ahead and look at some of the points that I have here. So you get to the idea of the true self, which is the sacrifice is the creative power. So you don't look for answers in the world, you don't look them through actions or rituals or words. You look in the innermost part of your being, your true self. It's understanding of the ultimate reality, and yourself, not you as an individual, depending on who you are. It's not me as Arturo, that is the ultimate reality. It is Arturo as connected with Brahman and an expression of Brahman, that I am ultimate reality. Not me as Atman, which is the individual self, but as Brahman. And I want to warn you here, because in Hinduism, of course, Hindus are always trying to push the limits of understanding. And I'll give you a description for the same book that I mentioned of how difficult it is to try to pinpoint things in Hinduism. This is a quote: "The self is not this, not that. It is incomprehensible, for it is not comprehended. It is indestructible, for it is never destroyed. It is unattached, for it does not attach itself. It is unfettered. It does not suffer. It is not injured." So that is the description of the self as that which is not. It is not this. It is not that. But that's going to be one of what's called the philosophy of negation, or in Latin it used to be in the Middle Ages termed the via negativa. You describe a thing by what is not. It is not evil. It is not. It does not have a beginning, but you are not telling what it is. So that's what you can do. You're limited as to how much you can say, but I'll give you a few descriptions. Now, the closest, and this is something to be admired about the Hindus, they have a writing style called Sutra style, Sutra. It is poetic in nature, and it fulfills the same function that poetry does, which is it condenses enormous amounts of information into short little statements. So in this case, rather than saying the self is the ultimate reality, the true self is ultimate reality, and go into explanations, they summarize all of that perspective into three simple words. Atman is Brahman. And Atman is the individual self. It is you, it is me, it is what I identify myself with, the age in which I live, my relationships in life, the Arturo that I know. But it says Atman, my individual self, is ultimate reality, is Brahman. And we're going to explore that more deeply. Hinduism also affirms the idea that the entire world is the product of consciousness. It is the product of a mind. Now, I will bring this up and we'll develop it later more. And that is, think of dreams of reality as analogous to a dream. The world that you see right now and what you experience is nothing more than a dream in the mind of Brahman. And there will be difficulties there, but I will explain that further. But the Hindus will use the analogy of a dream to be able to make sense of reality. So everything that you see in the world doesn't substantially exist. The matter that you are composed of, the computer that is right in front of you, they appear to exist, and just like in a dream, when you wake up, they are no longer there. Therefore, everything that you see in the world is nothing but an expression of consciousness. And that's where you have people like, movies like The Matrix, where mind-changing, bending reality, or Inception. That's where they kind of play with that idea. And then you have a description of what is the highest expression of the good life. What is the good? What is the purpose and meaning of human existence? And the way the Hindus will describe it is awareness of the self is the highest reality. It is pure bliss. Knowledge of that which is real enables you to then attain that which is timeless. That which cannot be taken away from you. That which is intangible. That which is permanent, that which is inalienable. It is comprehensive, and so that's what reality becomes, pure bliss. There's no change there. And so what you have here is that detachment from changeable reality, the world, to focus on the unchangeable. And here is where karma is, meditation is going to come in, and yoga. You are trying to attain a steadiness of mind. You're trying to not be disturbed by the things around you, things that appear to be a big deal, but in fact they are not. You need to develop an enlightened mind that is able to discern from the enlightened perspective that which is meaningful and that which is just trivial. So I'll explain those things more fully. And then last of all, there is a term that I would like to introduce, and then we'll later describe it more fully, and that is Nirguna Brahman. And that is Brahman without any qualifications, without any possible descriptions, without any possible claim to knowledge of it. Brahman is. And that is as far as you can go and say. Anything else beyond that will be mere speculation and not quite consistent with the nature of Brahman and the nature of the mind. So at this point I will pause, and this is our second lecture on the Upanishads, and I will continue on until we complete this week, and I will let you know. So I hope you are kind of beginning to grasp some of these ideas. I will invite you to do some further research on your own so that you can begin to process, because there is a lot of information that has a lot of implications in it. Okay, bye.